All right.
Welcome, everybody.
Smoking Chant, episode 3. Our very, very first guest with us on the show is Mr. Zip. Welcome.
Little bit of background on Zip here. We've known him for 20 years. And our beginnings are a little shady, but...
Well, I basically dated his daughter in high school, so, you know. But I ended up hanging out with him more than his daughter, other than for certain things, which, you know, anyways. So say hi, Zip.
Hello, everybody. This is Zip.
So, what's the first topic we want to get into today?
Bill's first blowjob.
So, we had touched on this.
I mean, Bill, that's another guy. Mr. Zips.
So, Mr. Zip, why don't you talk to us about the first experience? How old were you? What was her name? And was it a great blowjob? Go ahead.
Well, I hope this is mostly adults listening, but yeah, my first blowjob was unfortunately not by any woman or any girl. It was by a machine. Its name was Hoover. I was little at the time, didn't really know much.
How old were you?
8.
8 years old?
God,
and so you decided to stick your cock in a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, it's kind of an accident, but...
How is that an accident?
I was playing with it.
Did you fall on the vacuum?
I was playing with it and it was stuck on my t-shirt. But then, of course, I pulled the t-shirt out and I was standing in the bathroom, just got out of the shower, and boop, it sucked in something else other than my t-shirt.
So was this about like a 6-second, like, sort of, hey, this feels good, or was this like a 20-minute thing?
Turned into more like a 15-minute thing.
I do have a question. Did you continually hoover yourself into the future?
For a while it kept me quite satisfied, and I no longer have the curiosity that I should have for girls.
All right, well then so that's quite interesting. Why don't we get to the first time a actual female sucked your cock? How old were you? What was her name? Was it good? Was it better than Hoover? That's important too. Go ahead.
I don't know if it was better, but it was wetter. I was 12 years old.
Well, wetter's always better, so let's just get that out of there.
So
she was how old?
12 years old, and so was I.
You were 12, okay, so it wasn't creepy or anything.
No.
And what was her name? Her name.
Let's see
her name was Sandy. We've heard the story before. And so the listeners here are going to want to know, did you bust it in her mouth, or...
I pulled it out and was spraying all over the place.
Did you stroke it to spray, or did it just automatically squirt?
Automatically squirt.
Okay.
How did she react?
She seemed like it was something that was supposed to have happened, but to me, I was embarrassed.
Okay. Did she do it again, or was this a one-time occurrence? Hit and run sort of scenario?
No, it happened a couple more times.
Did she ever swallow, or?
7 times.
Did she ever swallow?
I don't know.
Okay.
She definitely seemed to like it, or we wouldn't have done it 7 other times.
Did you ever get caught?
No. She was really good at making sure her parents were gone.
What about her? Like, did you go out down on her to kind of reciprocate the...
No, because I thought if I touched her in the slightest way, I would make a baby.
Okay.
That's actually a good assumption.
It's actually a good birth control tactic, actually. So. All right. And let's talk about... So when was the first time you popped your cherry as far as vaginal?
It'd be at the racetrack where I used to race motocross.
How old were you?
I was 15.
Okay. Do you mind divulging her name, first name?
That's not who you think. Dude.
No, I'm not. No, I'm just asking.
Someone else.
Well, what was her name? It's just the first name. So.
Janet.
Janet Jackson. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not who you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Janet. The first time I ever
Okay.
had sex was in a place I never thought I'd have sex, and that's at inside a van at a motocross track.
Well, I think it's only fair. You got to explain why you were there. So you were essentially signed to a professional motocross team.
Yeah, but not till 17 years old.
How long did you stay with them?
Couldn't be signed to a professional team at 15.
How long did you stay signed on and stuff? Like, how long did that last?
I stayed with that girl for about 6 months.
No, the motor.
No, we're talking about how long did you stay with the company that signed you to be a professional
I
motocross?
stayed at motocross for 12 years. But
12.
that company, I stayed for about 2 years, and then I was stolen by a place called Competition Accessories
Okay.
in Ohio.
So, do you want to talk a little bit about your prior sort of degrees in terms of you have a couple degrees from college and stuff? What sort of got you interested in school?
Trying to find some kind of an occupation that would pay well. I went to Ohio State for 2 years. I went to Miami Jacobs Junior College, which was in Dayton, Ohio. I don't know if it still exists. Went to a couple of community colleges down in Tucson, Arizona to touch up on electronics.
So what degrees do you have?
I have a 2-year degree in electronics from Ohio State. I have, you can't really call it a 1-year degree, but I have 3 1-year
Kind of like an associate's, I guess?
certificates of electronics and electrical mechanical drafting.
So,
What does that have to do with what we're talking about?
we're just bouncing around.
We're really just getting a good idea of your sort of who you are. I mean, when you go to a school and you get certificates, it sort of shapes you, and so that way people understand the appeal and why we've been friends so long. I suppose.
I know. I suppose I'm like a lot of other people, as far as.
Well, I doubt very many people were ever signed on to something like that. I mean,
I don't know.
there's entertainers and there's the entertained. It's, now,
So, anyways, back to. So they already know that we're in Arizona. That's it. Okay. So, but what sort of got you to come to Arizona as opposed to just stay in Ohio?
Could not stand the snow and cold weather.
pretty much.
So you just
that's
got
it?
tired of shoveling snow?
So you chose to live in desert instead? The extreme opposite?
I couldn't even enjoy doing motocross. Your hands
What-
get kind of frozen to the hand grips. Not frozen, but where your blood, you kind of seem to lose your blood a little quicker. It was really frustrating. I couldn't even enjoy my hobbies or anything. It's just, I'm not into cold weather. Some people really like it. Up in New York, up in Pennsylvania, up in Vermont and stuff. They're big on cold weather,
But what
not me.
what sort of got you to Arizona? I mean, you could have went to California, you could have went to Texas, you could have, there's a lot of places on the West Coast.
I had friends that told me that they had people that moved and left Ohio because there wasn't much work there, and went to Arizona because they heard it was growing, and a lot of technology-minded individuals were needed really bad. So off to Arizona I went.
All right, so the one thing that I really want to touch on, I always wanted to know what got you into bodybuilding and how far did it take you?
Motocross got me into bodybuilding. When I started doing motocross, I was skinny as could be. I mean, I was so thin.
Didn't you have a fucking ponytail down to your ass too?
Yeah. Yeah. Now long brown hair, dark brown hair.
Now, while we're on the basis of bodybuilding, we know that you, because we're your friends, we know, but they do not know, that you had sex with a female bodybuilder. They need to know what that experience felt like. Was it tighter? Was it wetter? Was it drier?
For female bodybuilders, because they build up their thighs so much that it feels better. And then when they're done, I mean, when your female partner's done, she pops you out so fast because their thighs are so strong,
Oh.
used to squatting heavy weights. It was different from normal females.
So do you think it was like, was it better or
Better.
because it was tighter or just because they could pop you out anytime they wanted?
Pop you out anytime you
Well-
want, and tighter.
Yeah.
The same thing to me.
So was she a squirter?
She was a squirter, but she didn't moan like some women do.
Well, that sucks.
But it shows in her face that she's really into it.
Was she into anal?
Was she?
Anal
Did she
sex.
like anal? Did she like in her butthole?
Because I would assume.
She's not really anal, but sometimes I don't think she would have mind.
That's what I'm asking. Did you ever do that? Because I would imagine that had to have been smaller than an anthole
Yeah.
by what you're describing.
Yeah, accidentally I went in once or twice, but immediately come back out and went in the vagina. I didn't ask her for sex. Only.
Well, because you would also assume too that a woman bodybuilder, she may like pain. So
Did she like getting maybe smacked around or kind of choked a little bit or spank? Did you ever do her doggy style and spank her ass a little bit?
Did her a lot of ways, but she's not the type that to be pushed around. She is tomboy in capital letters.
did all the
But-
muscles turn you off at all?
Got a feminine face.
No? Or did it? Was she was still just
Better,
as attractive?
better at sex, better at life.
Was she good at blowjobs?
Yeah, she would do blowjobs and swore that I was the first one, and she wouldn't do it with anyone else.
That's what they all say.
And
I'm just saying.
maybe, but
So she was the type that could suck polish off of a hubcap. That sort of.
to suck the chrome off a trailer hitch.
All right. What do you find that is the most attractive thing on a woman? Don't give me this personality bullshit either. I'm being honest. You like the tits? I mean, what is it?
I would say the eyes and the waistline. A real narrow waistline and
Okay, but
knockout eyes.
so if we're talking about naked, not necessarily with clothes on, are you an ass guy, tits guy, thigh guy? You know, what sort of
With her, if we're talking specifically about her,
Yeah,
I
Call
would
her
say
Mrs.
I would
X.
say the thighs and the ass.
thighs and
the
ass.
vagina, 'cause she had
So
a
doing all
overdeveloped-
all those squats. Everybody's seen those memes on Facebook with a squat with the girl with the squat ass. It looked amazing. It's not like a normal chick that's like one of these bikini models.
Right, you got the apple.
It's an
and then
actual
you've got
like
underneath.
holy fuck,
separates.
that's a nice ass because it's muscle ass.
Yeah, no,
It's
I would
not
just,
droop or any of that.
I would just say overdeveloped in a very sensuous way.
And for me, it's the thighs next to each other, but a little bit of gap, and you see the pussy just kind of draw down a little bit. You know, you got.
Yeah,
that
as long
little
as it's not a
tomahawk.
creepy camel toe, right?
Yeah, you don't want nothing hanging
You don't
down
want-
to
you
the
don't want sort of-
knees.
You know, because I've had the unfortunate experience of you go to Walmart, you see the 350-pound Beefmaster walking through with fucking leggings that are so tight, look like it's gonna break open, and you can't help but notice she's walking like the Marshmallow Man in Ghostbusters, and she's got a floppy little camel toe hanging out like it's about to pop out. I mean, it's nasty.
All I know is the bodybuilder even was overdeveloped in the vagina area. I don't know if that has anything to do with lifting all those weights.
Well, sounds like she
But
did. She
she
have a
was
big
over-
clitoris, like an oversized. Because that's a lot of times that's from steroids.
It's, you know,
Maybe she took steroids.
she said she didn't, but I can't say if she's telling.
Well,
the
there's
truth.
certain points that.
Hold
a
on,
woman
hold on.
has to-
Hold on. Before we get into like some of our intellectual and like history-based stuff, did a girl ever lick your taint? That is between your butthole and your nutsack. Everybody wants to know. Have you ever had that done? You don't have to say who, but
Only in the penis area, but not back.
No?
Other than that,
no chick ever licked your balls.
No, of course, I take a shower and everything before I do it, but I still would not do that. The penis and the ball sack, that's no farther back than that.
So you never had a girl, put her tongue in your butthole.
No. I mean, think of all the pathogens that are in your
Okay, so I
Yeah.
know we got a little off topic here, so I really wanted to know how far you made it in bodybuilding. Was it just a passive fad?
It was a hobby, and then I got into doing it professionally for just 1 year. And
Did you win any prizes? Make any money?
and it was very, very grueling. I had to literally live in a gym. Had to be on a very strict diet. I never took steroids or anything. Luckily, I seemed to develop muscle fairly well. And started getting into bodybuilding only because of motocross. I had the talent in motocross, but boy, I didn't have the physique. I didn't have arms, didn't have shoulders. I was just skinny as could be.
No.
So bodybuilding changed all that.
Now,
And you placed, just real quick, so you placed third was your best placement, right?
No, second.
Second, okay.
That's pretty good, though.
That's very good.
So, we know that you bodybuilt, you raced bikes, did a whole bunch of cool stuff. I need to know, did the bodybuilding bring in more chicks, like popular,
Yeah,
opinion
but-
believes?
But certain kind of chicks, the ones that were like my bodybuilding girlfriend, it seemed to be those types. Very athletic bodies, some even more muscular than I would like.
Did you ever have a threesome with any of them?
But it did bring in other types of women, just muscular, athletic types.
But was there any threesomes involved there?
No.
Have you ever your entire life?
No, I've never done a threesome. So
Did you ever want to?
I guess you'd call me old-fashioned. I don't know.
Did you ever want to?
I used to fantasize about it, but I never actually did it.
So you've never stuck your wiener in a girl's butt?
Accidentally.
And you didn't think for a split second, wow, that's tighter.
No, I noticed it was tighter, but once again, I keep thinking about, pathogens and certain things that can happen.
Was there ever a girl that you needed to quote unquote throw flour to find the wet spot?
No, I've never dated someone that was obese.
I think the proper nomenclature would be beef master.
No, I've never been with someone that's obese. It's always been athletic bodies.
Yeah, because
So let's talk about, because I think it'll tie into some of the historical things that we want to go over. What do you think grabbed your attention with sci-fi? Because you're a big fan of sci-fi. In fact, you actually sort of influenced me to become interested now. That's become a lifelong, not obsession, but really more of my interest. So, especially when it mixes with history, which we'll get in a little bit later. What grabbed your attention on sci-fi, do you think?
Like a lot of people, Hollywood made a lot of people interested in sci-fi. But I would simply say for me, because of the type of work I did, sci-fi seemed to be more of an interest, and so I went for all types of sci-fi.
When you say sort of work you did, are you talking like people don't know what you're talking?
Electronics
Okay.
and computers. So, it
So
seemed
let
to
me.
be
We want to talk to you about something we talked about in our first episode a little bit, and getting sort of gauge your intellect and your sort of thought on it. Are you familiar with the Sumerians? They were sort of the first.
for an ancient culture, an ancient civilization, they were advanced a lot in technology.
So, I wanna kind of expand on that. So I don't know if you're aware or not, but the Sumerians were also the first civilization that actually, they actually created the 30-day calendar. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, I know, and also light.
What do you mean by light?
Light was generated.
You're talking about like the Baghdad batteries?
Yeah, the light was created long before America's Edison ever.
So we're going to hold off on that because there's something else I want to talk about. So this picture right here is the Sumerian stone tablet. And this you'll see here, which we'll see if we can put a screenshot on this part of the video.
Okay.
Or audio. But anyway, so this is an obvious representation of the sun. I think every kindergartner, when they draw the sun, they sort of have these rays coming out, right?
Yeah.
And so what's interesting is this would have been approximately 5,000 years before Jesus. But they actually make a representation of our solar system. That's what that is. And in fact, if you count out the planets, it includes all of our planets, including Pluto, which now all of a sudden isn't a planet.
Yeah.
But anyways, so my question is to you, because when I look at this, I see some pretty stark evidence that they had to have been contacted by what they called the Anunnaki, which would have been beings from above.
Either that or
This
they were
is- hold on.
extremely good with astrology. I mean,
But how?
But how when they
can't
don't
see,
have?
First of all, Pluto wasn't even discovered until 1930 here in Arizona. So how did they know Pluto existed? And yet they give homage to these beings that they claim came from the heavens, called the Anunnaki, and that they give the Anunnaki credit for developing math, 30-day cycle, calendar, agriculture, plowing, all these sort of things. So I guess I want to hear from your side. To me, this is undisputable evidence of, whether you want to call them aliens, the Anunnaki, whatever the case is, more advanced humans, because the Sumerians state that we are the seventh from the sun. Now, if you were born here on Earth, we are the third. But if you're coming from the outside of our system in, starting with Pluto, and you count back, we are the seventh planet. And so they claimed the Anunnaki came from the planet, the 12th planet, and I never pronounce it correctly, but it was Nibiru. Here's what's interesting.
Nibiru.
2 years ago, NASA stated, and you can pull this article up, that they are 95% sure there is a 12th planet, but that it only rotates around a seeable axis at around every 3,500 years or so. So without getting into more about the Anunnaki, what is your thought? I mean, I don't know how we can dispute this. It seems very obvious.
Okay, I don't know if it's accurate. Here's another slant on that. The Sumerians were in a mountainous area, and it was very volcanic back in their time.
And this would have been in Mesopotamia.
And what
Right.
happens to liquid glass once it hardens? As the volcanic area kind of calms down, it leaves pieces of glass that are very similar to an oval-shaped magnifying glass that we have in these times. Now, I'm not saying that that's one reason, but it could be one reason, as they seem to perfect that shape, and that might help some with the moon. But I don't
So-
see how it could
So one,
do much more than give a lot better vision on the moon. I don't see how it could.
So one of the theories about the Libyan or Egyptian, mind you, this is all around the same area where the Sumerians, the Babylonians would have been, the old Mesopotamia areas. But one idea was that this may be proof that at some point in our ancient history, when civilization was advanced enough to be building pyramids like this, that there was some sort of a nuclear war, and this is the proof of that. Because some people say, well, it could be a meteorite.
Or volcanic area.
Okay, that one is a new one I haven't heard.
Lava can melt rock.
Right,
Yeah.
but one of the theories was a meteorite, which most archaeologists have said is not true, because if that's the case, show me where the impact craters are. One other theory is that this is proof that ancient humans would have had a sort of nuclear war, and this is residence of it. And we know that this is possible from nuclear fallout because in the New Mexican desert, back when they were testing the atom bomb, there is glass very similar to this from the testing of the atom bomb. I mean, this glass, you have to, from what I've read, you have to melt this. This has to be at almost 3,800 Fahrenheit to go to this sort of... Because this is silica melting at 3,800 or more degrees.
Weren't there some skeletons from back then pulled up
but
as well
lava,
with radiation still in them?
Let me just finish. Yeah, we'll come back to that. You're saying a lava, but my confusion behind that is if it's sort of from a volcano, then where's the black rocks?
It's long since gone. Even these impact craters have been buried. This planet is famous for burying past things in
It's true.
history. They
That is
bury
true.
cities. They bury all kinds of ancient architecture.
The Sphinx took quite a while to get the sand out by the feet. I mean, it was
think about
Right.
it.
all the way to the top.
Even just this morning, they opened up another
well, yeah, let's come back to that.
another tomb.
So my question,
It was just
let's
found,
let's
so.
finish on this before we get too far away. But my question to you was, because they've also found skeletons from this area that are still currently radioactive. How do you explain radioactivity without some sort of an advanced knowledge that was able to create that? They found this in Egyptian sarcophagus.
Yeah, not only that, it would seem to
Speak
really
up.
strongly hint that there is some kind of foreign life intervention, some kind of alien off-world type species, because even today, with engineers, you can talk to them. They don't have any huge cranes that could build the blocks that are used in the pyramids. They're just so huge, especially in the area which is when these were built. The thing is that it may not be as much sand back in the time they were built, but still, I can't imagine any type of huge crane unless it was modern technology, or even perhaps a little bit of anti-gravity going on from advanced species. That I can't imagine modern man, well, maybe I could imagine modern man, but not ancient man having that type of technology back then to move massive stones.
But
have you seen how massive one of those stones are?
Well, that's what we were going to talk
Pyramid?
about here. Is this
They're
is
huge.
a recently found sarcophagus in the city of Alexandria, Egypt, and this stone it weighs over 66,000 pounds, and it is made of granite. The cuts on this thing are within 2 milli. I'm sorry, everybody. I can't recall the exact measurement. It's like 2:32 seconds. I mean, it's so precise that they said the only way we could match this today is with diamond bit drills and a computer. But they were able to do this back then. So my question is, the closest location they could have got granite was from at least 200 miles away. 200 miles. So how do you think that these ancient people were able to move this thing? I mean, this thing was buried.
There is absolutely no way that I can imagine as far as ancient crates, no type of ancient cranes are going to be able to move that, especially that distance. So you're talking anti-gravity technology.
What is your thoughts about maybe it being acoustic levitation? Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it, but I really think that a lot of technology has been found in places where you wouldn't expect to find it, like Antarctica. But the government always hushes these things up.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They don't want to share what they found because they think it's an advantage somehow.
Well, now, have you heard what transpired with opening this sarcophagus and everything around it? So basically, for those listening, once they found the sarcophagus, they found that lore around the area and people claim that it was cursed. They opened it anyway. They found that it has 3 top-ranking officials from back in those times.
I believe they might have been Roman soldiers, by the way, because one of them had an arrow in its head.
Yeah, one of them had an arrow wound. And it's just very interesting that they still buried them in such a manner. And I just want to know what more they find, because they're still, as of today, digging through this and going through what the contents were inside the sarcophagus and everything.
Well, and nobody talks about the fact that the Library of Alexandria, which was at that time, one of the biggest wonders of the world, it had, sort of handed down technology. Who's to say that we didn't have advanced technology that was located in there? When you look at history, barbarians always overthrow what is considered to be an untouchable civilization, and they typically burn it to the ground. So along with that, you're going to burn knowledge, any sort of past experience that they may have had. But to me, tying back into the Anunnaki, it makes sense that maybe at one point humans were very advanced and had great technologies. And now we are just now catching back up. And there was a period, maybe a nuclear war, maybe it was this or that or whatever, but we have obviously dumbed down as a society.
Right, it's
to a certain extent.
Have you ever heard that saying, history is only what we hear from the victor?
No, a lot of it was left out on purpose.
Exactly.
So do you think that has a tie-in with the Illuminati, or do you think this is just...
I think it has a tie-in with a couple of species. I don't think that one species was the only species that was here. I think there's a couple of species, and...
So we never got your answer. That was our mistake. That picture I showed you with the solar system, to you, how do you think that they could have known this thousands of years before telescopes?
And there's a small chance that they made a massive magnet because
why wouldn't we have found that?
Magnets attract, but on the other side they repulse, and they actually push metal parts away. It makes you wonder if somehow that technology wasn't incorporated in some moving. Except that I don't know about moving.
That is a legitimate Egyptian papyrus that was first discussed, from what I saw, was on the History Channel. But most people don't know this. This would have been Egyptian Playboy. And as you can tell, he makes himself quite endowed.
What's funny is, this
is a real papyrus. This was found next to where the workers, as sort of slaves, lived.
I don't think.
I don't remember the man right there. He's actually one of the leaders at the time.
He's pulling her hair, typically like you would. Looks like she's giving him a BJ. So anyway, so what's your thoughts on the alien thing? Do you think that? Actually, I want to go over one more thing before we.
I think there's been other alien species here, that's for certain. But
what's your take on the flying spaghetti monster?
But
so let's look at this real quick for everybody that doesn't know what I'm doing. So I'm looking at. This is multiple civilizations, multiple time periods, and these are depictions of what people would consider to be the Greys. So what is your take on these? Are different civilizations, different time periods, and different depictions of what looks all to be the same.
What are they trying to depict?
They look like modern day gray aliens.
Yeah, but they look very much alive, so it's not like it's
but what I'm saying is
anything dead. They're depicting alive drawings.
But the point is,
alien species.
Why would, if aliens are a joke and Greys are fake, like everybody makes it out to be, it's some big conspiracy, then how can you explain this in cave paintings from thousands of years ago? How?
because they possess technology far more than mankind gives them credit for. Much more knowledge, and I would dare to say a lot of that knowledge was purposely not passed on, because this population back in the day,
So are you saying that the Greys maybe gave them that technology?
Well, according
they
to
got
the
rid of it and took it away.
according to the
Look what they did to Atlantis. It's supposed to be a big, high technology city civilization before any of us were, while we were in the Stone Age almost, and they destroyed Atlantis, sunk it, whatever.
So I guess my question to you is: do you think the Greys exist? Because according to the Sumerian
they do.
story, the Anunnaki, who looked more human, bring the Igigi, which were the supposed watchers, and that's what people think the Greys may be. They may be watchers of this civilization,
I think
but
so.
they are in control of the Anunnaki, who mated with humans, and that sort of created the modern day humans, or Homo sapien, because it was genetically modified. When you look up the stark contrast of DNA between apes and humans, there's a huge difference. Any geneticist will tell you this. You can look up the videos, you can look up the documents. Do you think we've evolved from apes? Based on what I've seen, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Now
The way they walk, their hands, their posture, everything. Not only that, one of the biggest compelling things that made me believe is if we've evolved from apes, why do we get sunburn? Think about that.
Yeah.
Apes don't get sunburn.
I'm going to have to look that
They
up.
don't get sunburn. So we obviously are not from here. And think about it. If we're part of a hybrid from the Anunnaki and their planet's rotation around the sun is so, different, it would make sense that they're pale. They can't handle the sun. Neither can we. We get
Right.
skin cancer. Right?
That's true.
It sort of makes sense. Right?
That does make sense.
That's true.
Have you ever seen the significance of the number 9? Have you ever sort of seen some of the history behind that? Do you know that if you take the distance from the Earth to the Sun, and in miles,
92 million
yes, yes, but if you divide that by the Earth's diameter, it equals 108. Now, if you do the same thing for the distance from us to the Sun, or I'm sorry, to the Moon, you take the size, you divide it by its diameter. Do you know it's 108? And what is 1 plus 8?
Yeah, 9, but
Right. Do you know that there's 108 feet on the outside perimeter of Stonehenge? There's also 108 Cambodian temples. I don't remember the name. And what was the biggest one?
Shoot.
Well, just that in itself.
Yeah.
But Tesla had talked about the significance. And actually Einstein referred to this as well, which I know you were big on Einstein. But he said, if you want to know the significance of the universe, understand 3, 6, and 9. So 360 degrees, 3 plus 6, 9. If you do, what was the math that we'd worked out? It was 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Remember, we wrote it out.
Yeah,
Anyways. But the significance of it, do you know that if you take a rectangle, pentagon, hexagon, and you go, you measure out the sides of the breaks, they will always equal 9? Do you realize that? You can actually look it up.
I've never checked it out.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy, and Tesla talked about it. So anyways, not to get off topic
Yeah,
too
that's
much.
interesting.
And by the way, you had brought it up earlier. Most people hopefully know this that are listening, but Edison did not create the electric bulb. He didn't create electricity. He bought a patent off of somebody. And Tesla actually worked as his sort of, what would you call him?
Kind of like
He worked for Edison, but Edison was big
Patent
on the DC current, and Tesla was the one that came out with the alternating current, which is what we use today, pretty much in everything. He also invented remotes. He predicted cell phones, all the wireless technology that we're using now, and everybody made him out to be a quack because supposedly in his laboratory he had claimed he got messages from Mars. So everybody thought he was psycho.
well, maybe he did.
So,
No,
what was Einstein's take? I know a lot about Tesla, but what was Einstein's take on aliens? I don't know that he's ever made a comment on it.
he seems to can't remember exactly. It's not like he's got passages I can quote, but he seems to insinuate that the way this universe was made, that there's definitely life elsewhere. It's not just mankind.
I think the numbers for that to be true, that we're the only ones, I think that would almost have to be absolutely unrealistic. I mean, how could you imagine? And what do they say? There's every grain of sand on Earth is equal to a solar system in space. I mean, how could you even imagine that you're the only thing that's ever existed?
Right, that's
That
very
would be-
conceited.
That would be
Egotistic.
unbelievable arrogance to think that you're the only species.
Well, look up something real quick. Elon Musk, The Matrix. Now,
Well, I don't want to watch. We don't want to watch a video though.
well, there should be one that's about a minute.
Okay. Do you know who Elon Musk is, Zip?
No.
Elon Musk is the guy that owns SpaceX and
You got it
the
right in
Tesla
the
car
Matrix.
company. He's a multi-billionaire. He has a couple different companies.
Alright, let me see if I can find that video real quick. Okay, it's I was wrong. It's 3 minutes, not a minute.
Let's watch this.
Sort of a philosophic concept that a sufficiently advanced civilization will be able to create a simulation. Yeah, maybe you've answered
Like
this
the
before.
movie The Matrix.
A simulation.
I've had so many simulation discussions, it's crazy.
Okay,
You remember that
so
movie?
because
In fact, it got to
You
the
remember
point
the
where
movie, right?
basically every
Matrix?
conversation
Okay.
was the AI/simulation conversation. And my brother and I finally agreed that we would ban such conversations if we were ever in a hot tub. That was like, because that really
we're
kills
on
the
the hot
magic.
tub. So the idea is right. Any sufficiently advanced civilization could create a simulation that's like our existence, and so the theory follows that maybe we're in the simulation. Have you thought about this? And
A lot.
are we? Are we?
Even in
I
hot
need
tubs.
to know.
So
Are
much
we
so
in
it
a
had to be banned from a hot tub.
Okay.
It's not the sexiest conversation.
Are we in? Are we in?
I think here's, remember, like the strongest argument for us being in a simulation, probably being in a simulation, I think is the following. That 40 years ago, we had Pong, like 2 rectangles and a dot. That
Right.
was what games were. Now, 40 years later, we have photorealistic 3D simulations with millions of people playing simultaneously, and it's getting better every year. And soon we'll have virtual reality, augmented reality. If you assume any rate of improvement at all, then the games will become indistinguishable from reality. Just indistinguishable. Even if that rate of advancement drops by 1,000 from what it is right now, then you just say, okay, well, let's imagine it's 10,000 years in the future, which is nothing in the evolutionary scale. So given that we're clearly on a trajectory to have games that are indistinguishable from reality, and those games could be played on any set-top box or on a PC or whatever, and there would probably be, billions of such, computers and set-top boxes, it would seem to follow that the odds that we're in base reality is 1 in billions.
So
Tell me what's wrong with that argument.
Is the answer yes?
The argument is probably. I mean, it's like, is there a flaw in that argument?
I mean, someone.
I'm not sure what the error.
No. The argument makes sense. So the assumption then is that somebody beat us to it, and this is a game.
No. There's a 1 in billions chance that this is base reality.
Oh, okay. What do you think?
Wow.
Well, I think it's 1 in billions.
Okay.
So there's
That seems to be like clearly what the what.
there's a
I think
1
my-
in billion chance that we're the base reality. All the rest of the realities can be created by another reality. That's
Yeah.
pretty deep.
Yeah. I
But
know,
doesn't that
we've
tie
got-
into dimensions? That this is supposed to be the 3rd dimension, right? Is that it? The dimension we're in?
I don't know.
That is true.
But here's my question: The
And multiple
Matrix.
realities.
You look at that movie, which was amazing,
Multiverses.
and how is it any different from what we do now? I mean, think about it. You work a 9-to-5 job, which just growing up as a regular human being, you're not ever going to want to do. But you do it so that you can pay for this and you can pay for that. So it is a sense of control that society, the government, whoever you want to blame, but we're living an artificial existence. We weren't thousands of years ago worrying about our 401ks and our wallets. We were worrying about surviving and advancing. We're, as a society, sort of living in the matrix, I feel like.
We've created our own matrix.
Yeah, and the thing is, the technology is expanding, not yearly, but probably every 3 months.
Well, I remember somewhere when I was younger hearing that technology doubles every year and a half. I don't know if that's true, but that's what they said at the time.
Sooner. Knowing what I know, looking at places like that, a lot sooner. I mean, I had technology that was so new that when I came to work, it was hot. It was right off the lathe. They didn't wait. They had me implement it in certain technology, and a lot of these mainframes and things were doing things that everyone talked about was going to be done in a couple of years away, and it's already out there, and it's not being given to the public. At least not some of the companies I work for. Someone else got it.
Now me and Smoke have grown up and seen a lot of changes in society, technologically. What was it like from when you were a kid to now? Because for us, we've only got a half a perspective in that regard.
Technology-wise?
Speak up a little bit, too.
Yes.
Technology-wise?
Just
It's
everything.
like comparing apples to oranges. The technology that I learned at the time, although I upgraded it, I had no choice. But
Well, I mean,
still,
when you were a
it's-
child,
Oh, a child.
like, how were
Well, then you're
TVs
going back
at
in-
that time, or was it just radio? On and on. The cars. I mean,
I remember being the first family to have a color TV on my block.
You son of a bitch, you stole it, didn't you? Just kidding.
And no one had an idea what pixels are, especially capable of color, the 3-gun system. No one had, I mean, someone did, but not very many. The general public
Speak up a little.
didn't even think of that. It was a big deal if you had a black and white TV.
I remember back a long time ago there was a fake alien invasion or something on the radio or TV.
War of the Worlds. That
War
was
of
like
the Worlds.
H.G. Wells.
Yeah.
Some people committed suicide. They
When
thought
was
that?
that? Was that during your time?
No, that was
No,
before.
that was before.
That was before, a little before.
Well, that shows though that
So-
back then
so-
people thought of that stuff. If they
So
were
now
willing-
I think everybody would like to know, this is going to be a world eye-opening scenario. You don't jerk off, you hump a silk blanket. And I think we need to talk about how do you go from a vagina, which obviously is one of the best creations in the world. And by the way, I just love women's bodies. Oh, see, I had to get my tagline in there. But what is the benefit, and what is sort of the... I mean, the silk blanket is not wet and it's not warm. So explain to people how this seems to get your jollies going.
I don't have to worry about a relationship. I don't have to worry about certain types of pathogens. I don't have to worry about HIV or just full-blown AIDS. I don't have to worry about any of those things that can still get my cookies out.
Now, just so people know, Mr. Zip here has a family, has children, the whole 9 yards, has grandchildren and everything. So when he's talking about humping a sheet here, he's not saying that he's single and never been with women and stuff like. No, this is someone who has gone all the way through life and has everything most people, want or end up having, etc. So, but
I do it more than my wife is capable of wanting to do it. She's capable, but not wanting to.
now,
and-
at your age, have you ever taken Viagra?
Honestly.
No.
Honestly, no.
You still get a morning wood?
Yeah.
And you're 68, right?
Oh, especially in the shower.
Because it's wet, exactly. The silk sheet ain't giving you the wetness. But it's also not backtalking and giving you shit either.
It's just masturbating is safer. I hate to say it, but it is. Although I admire women's bodies,
Well,
always
at
have.
your age, what's safer? You're not going to get her pregnant.
So well, you don't know. He might not be shooting
That's-
blanks.
that's
He might
true.
be shooting rockets.
And,
here.
and there have been some women that were
So-
pretty up there that have had kids. So,
Everybody by now must have heard, or at least overheard,
oh yes, this.
that we live in a civilization now that by the time Smoke and Chant's kids are old enough, we actually might be, with our children, meeting an AI robot that's fully functional and having a relationship with our children. It is
I
possible.
absolutely know that will happen. I know
So
that.
this is a sex doll, Bill.
Considering what I used to do for a living, I know it will.
So this is a sex.
Probably already.
This is a sex doll, Mr. Zip. What we want to know is, would you rather have the silk sheet or this sex robot that has tits and ass, a waist, eyes, hair, all of that?
You first have to ask me, would I be single or would I be married?
Single.
Okay, single, sure. Married, my wife would cut that up. But you're not.
Hide it under your bed.
I don't think she'll.
So
fit.
you're telling me she would get mad if she walked through the door and saw you holding that naked sex
yes.
doll with the titties?
Yes,
And
yes,
these
yes.
things are so good, and even they're still going to improve 1,000 times more.
Oh, I will.
That the rates of marriage in China.
I believe you're
are-
going to be able to put a graphic suit on your body in future games, and get this, when you pick the gender, you put a graphic suit on, thanks to the new type of projector.
Did you say you want to pick the gender and it wants to be a
No,
male
you'll
robot?
be able to pick the gender, male or female.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there will be plenty
this
of
is
women.
coming
That,
in the future.
there's plenty of women that will go this route too.
But the idea
Sure.
that we might live in a time, Smoke and Chant, to actually legitimately have a Blade Runner scenario going on where people are having relationships with AI robots. I mean, this is the start. And in 20 years' time, they're going to have fully functional AI robots for relationships.
They'll have them in games as well, not just actual,
I could see people abusing this though. I mean, buy 5 or 6 of them, have them go out and work, and
Well,
then you just reap the benefits.
Then you have the feminists who are saying, well, that's sexually degrading to an AI. And it's like, wait a minute, the AI is not real. But then there's people there saying, well, if you're raping this, is that rape? Or what happens if an AI robot, let's just throw out a scenario that's realistic. What happens if an AI robot that's a male gets a hard-on, it's been rubbing on a silk sheet all night, and all of a sudden breaks into Zip's house and fucks him in the butt against his will? Now, are you going to arrest the AI robot, or are you going to arrest the developer of the AI software? Who's responsible?
Manufacturers just have to put a no liability claim on.
And that also goes into the worry of, is that robot now conscious?
Right.
And,
Does
yeah,
it now
yeah.
potentially,
Because there
in
was-
all
that would be
technicality,
big
have a
time.
soul?
That would go all the way to the Supreme Court. They actually
But then-
call an AI an actual being. That's really,
Right.
But then do you give an AI robot rights? Do they have rights? If they have the
depends what
intelligence...
the courts would say.
Well, and the problem is if you don't give them rights, that will cause problems in the future. It's a catch-22 right there.
Right now,
What happens when they want to vote?
Right now, you have cars that are being driven now by AI.
Well, yeah, and you see recently in Arizona, a woman got hit by one.
Look how realistic that is.
I didn't. I don't even know how they're doing it.
What are you doing? Look how realistic that is. It's got the camel toe action. It's got some decent legs, big ass titties.
Yeah, I know
Love
it's
me
really
some
attractive,
titties.
and-
Those
and-
are.
and
Do you like big tits or small tits?
You don't have any type of issues. You don't have
Yeah,
any
you can
problems.
You can
She's
fuck
not gonna get
that
upset.
without giving you chlamydia.
Yeah, and she's not going to get upset.
If anybody wants to think of $1 million idea that Chant won't do with me, that I've tried to tell him for many times, we need to come out with the very first sex robot brothel. I'm telling you, somebody's going to do it. Watch. Mark my words. Somebody's going to do it.
Now-
And someone's going to make a ton of money because guys can do this. I mean, that's realistic. Trust me. There's guys out there that could never land that in real life.
Oh,
and if they
definitely.
can do that to play out their own fantasies, they'd be willing to do it. Now, the problem is maybe we'd have to develop an insert to the vagina that's disposable.
Yeah, because that was my first concern with why I was tepid with that business model. I didn't want to do
Someone's
cleanup.
going to do it.
Somebody's got to do cleanup, and it is not me. But I still want the money flow from, because that's an excellent
where you
business
hire
idea.
somebody to be a cum catcher. You know, that's what the job title, cum catcher.
Now,
you know?
the problem is, I'm sure you probably have a lot of women or protesting outside your place.
So then you put these ones out. Look, we put these out for the women. 6-pack. Look at that.
That's a robot, because that looks like a real guy.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, well, it's a robot. Look, it's got a 6-pack and everything. Look at that.
Jesus.
More fit than me. I go to the gym. Well, that might be real.
That says it's a movie. Although Zip here looks like
It's
he's
pretty
getting a little-
interesting that showed up Asian. But anyways, look how realistic that is. I mean,
Yeah.
that's yeah.
A lot of single guys will be able to purchase those, and not worry about sex as far as being any type of sexual disease.
Did you ever have a girl open her legs like that was flexible enough?
That's a real girl.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it's a real girl.
That's real.
Let me ask you a question. Do you like a woman's body to
It's amazing that I know it's real. I've seen how well they were made.
do you like to be able to, the girls over the years, did you like them to be super scrawny, or did you like them to be a little bit of stuff on them, so like if you're banging them doggy style, you can see the force kind of rippling through their skin?
No,
Or do you want it so tight that it's like leather and gonna break? Because the too skinny can be bad too.
I don't know. Since I like a lot athletic girls are more tight, so I would go with more tight.
How about you, Chant?
I am a weirdo. I go for anything as long as it's under 300. I ended up marrying someone who's super, super skinny, but I have no preference. None whatsoever.
I don't like the girls that are so skinny you're afraid to break their hip. That's what I'm saying. And I also don't want a heifer. No offense to any women out there.
Who was that guy next to that?
That was the guy. That's one of the guys that developed these sex robots.
Yeah.
Matt McMullen.
So what's a hot chick that has no morals?
I mean, look at this.
She
Look at that.
has Yeah.
First glance,
Yeah.
at first glance, you would think that's real until you look
Yeah.
at the eyes and maybe the lips.
Yeah, but she has no morals. If you want to call it.
But she also doesn't tell you you're a dickhead and get the fuck out of the house or go sleep on the couch.
will give you AIDS.
So, yeah.
So I can see.
So
some
back you
positives.
never really answered. So if you were single, you would go for that.
Yeah, I just would be afraid she might answer the door.
Now, another variation of this,
That
Mr.
could be
Zip,
embarrassing.
they have
Well,
ones
these
that
are
full
ones that are-
cleaning robots. Would you buy one of those?
These are not fully AI though. These are just sex robots.
Yeah,
But
if I
these
was
aren't the
single-
ones with
yeah, if I
AI.
was
That's
single-
not developed for
if I
another
was
couple of
single,
years.
yeah.
Well, the ones that they're trying to do AI with are maid service, like cleaning. But you know it's going to be used for way
It's
more than
gonna
that,
be-
obviously.
Mankind's too sex driven.
My wife actually says it's okay to get one for cleaning and cooking and things like that, and I said, you know, you better be careful because I'll know it's not real. I mean, I won't lie; it's not hard to.
Well, then
be
you look
attracted
at
to
you
those
look at
things a
like
little
people.
bit,
You look at those shows like.
It depends on the program. How that performs personality.
But then what happens if the maid turns around and stabs you with a butcher knife? Again, does this
No,
who's
she
responsible?
would have to. The programmer,
Right, and would you feel
not
guilty?
the programmer, but the person who's over the programmer would be responsible.
But how do you develop an AI? Because I know Elon Musk had some interviews with this. Because he's very concerned. That guy we just watched.
Yeah.
He's very concerned that AI could be the demise of humans. Because if they become
Only
too
if you
advanced
put
to
'em-
realize that we're playing God with them,
Yeah,
they may revolt.
yeah. It just depends what position. You
Every
don't wanna-
sci-fi movie's drama.
Yeah, you don't want to put any in the military in say, guarding nuke missiles. You don't want them in sensitive areas like that. They get mad and decide your fate in 3 seconds.
It's true. What was that element we were talking about the other day?
I think that's a different podcast.
Different podcast.
I think
Okay.
I think it's going to have to be.
Well, what we should do
But
with
Mr. Zip here is going to be on the podcast multiple times. This won't be the only time. He literally had a boner walking in here. He was so excited. I don't think we have a silk sheet around, but you know, you could probably go rub one off in the bathroom. Or there's a cat around here too. I see.
Yeah,
earlier.
don't sodomize
You need
my
to get
cat.
some pussy.
Yeah, well, it's safer.
What do you think? What do you like mostly about when you're railing a girl? Do you like the moaning, the wetness? Do you like a squirter or no squirter? What's sort of your?
I like a squirter, but I don't like a moaner. I like
You want them to be quiet?
the girl's shape. If they're athletic, it means better sex. Stronger legs push you in, even though you don't really need to be pushed in anymore. A lot of times females will still do that. They'll tighten up their legs and push you in. But when they want you out, boy, they'll pop you out fast as well.
And so, you want them to be quiet then, or don't you like hearing a woman's moan?
No, I kind of like that one sound that they make, a kind of a panning sound. But I don't want a real loud moan. I'm just not in.
Well, no, not one that's waking up the neighbors, but
Yeah.
you want to be able to hear that you're taking care of business.
Well, yeah, you'll be able to tell that by looking at their face.
Well, not if their head's down and their ass is up. Yeah, buddy. Spanking that ass. So let's touch on, we're going to call her Mrs. X. And she was the daughter of a individual who you worked for or represented in some sense in your motorcycle time. And we won't go into names or anything, but in today's society, you would have been arrested for. You were 27, right? And she was 16?
Something like that.
And you popped her cherry multiple times. So I have to ask, well, I don't want to ask too much, but what compelled you to plow the flower?
I don't know. I said she was
Hurting for a squirting?
15 or 16, going on 30.
So she was hurting for a squirt
Her personality.
from Mr. Zip.
Now, so this was someone's boss's daughter?
No, this was
Or-
the owner's daughter.
The owner's daughter. Oh.
So while the owner's down making transactions, he's up there hurting for a squirting with the little one. Well, not in that weird way, but
Yeah,
Not little
thanks
one.
for that weird...
well, she was 16, so come on, back in the 50s or shit, a couple hundred years ago, girls were getting married at 12. So I mean, come on, let's not be stupid about it. So, but she sort of came to obsessed with you, right? Like she really, really wanted you to stay around, and you were just kind of surfing the waves.
Yeah, I
for a while.
didn't realize her age for a while.
Yeah, she lied to you, right? You didn't know about it.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Everybody assumes it's the guy, but a lot of women lie.
That's why I said.
Well, back then they didn't have
You gotta
ID.
speak up too.
Yeah.
Why back then
Lean forward
she
a
was
little
15, going on 30. She had a personality just like a grown woman. It's amazing.
Did she look like that?
Same color hair.
Was she skinny like that? Probably.
Yeah, she wasn't like that.
Did she want anal or vagina?
Just say she was very much a woman.
Did a lot of the girls back then, did they have hairy pussies? Did you see that? You see
yeah,
that in
it's-
porn,
yeah,
or
it's-
like
Right, you see
Playboys,
a freaking bush.
porcupine. Yeah, it's fucking gross. I mean,
Yeah,
shit.
it's kind
Kind of like Bob Ross, sort
yeah.
of.
It's like an afro, dude.
Some women say they don't even shave down there unless
That's
they're going to have
disgusting.
sex. They're
No,
gonna
I've-
have
No,
I've
but
gotta
I'm
have
saying a
clean.
lot of the women back then, did they grow the hairy bush, or did some of them shave it back then too?
Some did, but most from what I experienced, were fairly hairy.
Were the guys that fucking hairy too? I mean, did they
Yeah, they weren't into
clean it?
Man grooming or whatever?
grooming themselves. Really.
Manscaping.
So basically, we've gone from not doing it to now we got guys in high school that look like girls. So we're not heading in the right direction.
Yeah, so it's kind of
Oh.
going a different way.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very good.
Now, we could jump on a different topic, which would be one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight.
Okay.
Some of the crazy stuff we've done as a trio here.
Yes, memories with Zip. So the first one we want to elaborate on is I'd like the audience to hear the story of when you were Darth Vader and you entered a Circle K with the mask on, and you walked up and said, "My name's Mr. Zipper," and they were compelled to push the emergency button. Is that how the story goes?
They almost pushed the emergency button.
Gotta speak up.
I just hated Dare. Dared me to go in there like that. But
can you tell
if
everybody?
I thought about it more, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Can you tell everybody what got, what we've done over the years? What's always worked to get you to do things we wanted you to do that you didn't want to do?
Which worked tonight.
Solely, yes, that's what got you here on the podcast tonight. So that is solely the beverage Pepsi.
Yeah. I just.
What is your obsession with Pepsi?
I don't know. Must be an addict, I guess.
There is nothing this man will not do for a soft drink.
There was another occurrence in a galaxy far, far away where he went out and did the Richard Nixon peace thumb, the two fingers, and we told him he had to jump up and do that to get a taco or a burrito or a hamburger at Jack in the Box. And one of the truckers actually honked their horn. Yeah. And Zip got hard nipples. It was pretty weird. There was also...
That was a lady driving that truck, too.
There was also one occurrence that I think needs to be explained only by you.
You've heard of lady truck drivers.
And this was a time where we visited the beautiful restaurant called Chili's. But it needs to come from you. Explain to the audience what happened. They're going to want to know.
I trusted my so-called friends to take me to a restaurant, and while I went into the restroom real quick, they loaded up my chili with the hottest hot sauce I've ever tasted. I came back and ate that.
Yeah, he ate it, by the way. He said it was hot, but he ate the whole thing.
Yeah, it tasted good, but it's super hot. And I had to go like a mad Russian. I couldn't stand it.
But
it went through me like crazy.
But more specifically, we were at that time. For those of you who don't know what Hastings is, it was a book and video store, kind of like Blockbuster but better. They're bankrupt now; they don't even exist. But
that's really sad.
So explain to them what took place as we were walking to the entrance. All three of us were walking towards the door, and all of a sudden, Mr. Zip here jumps up as though a dildo's gone up his ass. He immediately cups his butthole, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it in time. And he was soiled his shorts, or his pants, and unfortunately, I guess now looking back, I probably wasn't the nicest friend. I told him he couldn't get in my car until he washed his pants, and so he had to go to the grocery store next door to wash his pants in the bathroom before I'd let him get in my car, since he shit his pants.
Yeah, it's kind of dirty that he did that. I just.
Well, we didn't know you were going to shit your pants. I mean, come on. In all fairness, we thought you might get the squirts, but not that fast.
I can't handle hot sauce.
How many times have you had trouble getting in our car?
Not that much hot sauce.
How many different times have you had troubles getting in our car?
Driving as we slowly drive away as you're trying
waiting
to jump
till you get in.
Yeah, well, that's being just flat out mean. But it's funny, but still, it's kind of mean.
Who was the best sniper in all of the video games?
I guess it would be Smoke.
Yeah, that's right. You see, I answered before. I even knew.
And who was second best? Chant.
Okay, we'll say Chant.
You would always hide in a corner with a bazooka.
No, he had a sniper rifle.
Yeah, and we'd be behind you.
By the way, those were when the games were good. The maps were huge.
Yeah, now it's little tiny
It could take
squares.
30 minutes to find somebody. And I'd sneak up on Zip here and zip right there. I'd stab him. He gets so pissed.
So much
he was
Ghost
there
Recon.
for 30 minutes. Yeah, Ghost Recon was the shit back then.
Yeah, I don't know if they're still like that. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Someone told me the maps are smaller.
Halo wasn't bad.
Well, someone
Played a lot of Halo.
Someone said the maps were smaller, so I don't know for sure.
Well, we're going to get wrapping this up, so you want to tell people some of the games that you're waiting on or that you're anticipating?
Do
you want to say your gamer tag for Xbox? No? Okay. He's classified. Level 5.
I'm anxious for the new Fallout. See if I'm a Fallout fan, so I'm anxious for this new Fallout 76. Hopefully it'll be good. I don't know.
They really need to open that crossplay, because I don't want to buy a goddamn Xbox.
It's just so many people.
You think that it's not multiplayer, and it is. It's both.
So
if you go online, I can launch nukes at you.
It's first and foremost single player, according to
Or build
Todd.
a base together. It would be pretty awesome.
He said,
Be specific with who you're
he
saying.
said,
Todd who?
Bethesda-
They don't know.
Todd, who owns Bethesda.
Okay.
And he said it's mainly...
Well, shareholders own Bethesda. Isn't it public?
No.
Yep.
Todd's the
so.
boss, but he's not, I don't think, the owner. Not
Well,
that it matters,
I was
but-
told he was the owner, so
Okay, well.
I wasn't told about any shareholders. But having said that, he has the new Fallout coming out, Fallout 76, and I'm anxious to see that. It just, there's a lot of things that were wrong that a lot of people complain about, and the reason a lot of people still play the other Fallout, which I think's good, is because of mods. You're able to literally change the game a lot with the mods that they have. Is that your wife?
Oh, that is not my wife, Bill. What the fuck?
His wife's getting
Okay, so
ragged in the butt.
we ended the last video with this, so Mr. Zip here has to see this.
All right.
And I'm sure that Smoke knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, I'm very happy to have you on the podcast. You're going to have to come on again. I think you're too good of a guest. And believe it or not, you're our first guest on the show. And we already have a couple other people that are already ready to go on this, so you won't. It won't be the last.
Now, say, baby, you know what? Tonight, I want to do something a little freakier. I want to suck your dick blindfolded. Your man will blindfold himself if he knows he's going to get some head. So now, your man is in the bed. You have the grapefruit already prepared under the bed. He smells the citrus in the air. He thinks you have on some Victoria's Secrets or something. He has no idea. And what you're going to do is be a woman of your word. Now, you have to get his penis erect. So what you're going to do is just suck his dick, just like you said you were going to do. Once he's nice and erect, what you're going to do is replace the grapefruit from your mouth. You're going to twist up and down on his shaft and suck the head at the same time. Now, ladies, remember, grapefruit is also a fat burner, so you're actually losing weight while you're sucking his dick. Now, once you're doing this technique, it feels...
So have you ever been grapefruited?
No. That's
Would you
never for me.
like to be grapefruited?
I think I'll hold off on that. It might burn once the grapefruit gets up.
That's
towards the
actually
top.
part of the beginning of the video, and she explains that is
Why does
definitely
everybody
not going to...
assume this?
It's just
You
'cause-
guys have diseases on your
No,
dicks? What are you
no,
worried
no,
about?
no,
It's
there's
grapefruit,
some-
not fucking acid.
And grapefruit is
Well,
acidic.
you just
fluid.
that's the first thing that comes to your brain. You
Shit.
see how red that is,
I
and you
don't.
go, "Ooh,
Yeah,
I'm afraid of it going in my
You
pee
like-
hole." Is what I'm
you feel like
thinking.
you're getting your penis out and it's erect, and open your little hole and buy a lemon and just go. And watch what happens.
For some reason, I feel like you may have done this in the past and tested that theory.
No.
Goddamn lemons!
No, it's just,
Have you ever put a banana in your butthole?
no.
Have you ever touched your butthole in a way other than wiping your ass? Honestly, have you violated yourself?
No. Banana split.
That sounds good right now, actually.
Yeah.
And Zip would want it with extra salty nuts.
No, I'm into females.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm not into guys. I'm into females.
Are
I
you
can't
sure?
help it. I like to masturbate on a silk sheet. I'm sure millions of people do it.
Nobody else does it. Nobody
You don't
else
know that.
does it.
You don't know everybody.
No, most people
You
fucking
have not
stick it in a
taken
hole.
a survey.
Ultra
You
healing
don't know.
Jergens, Mr. Zip.
Most people
That
stick
is
it
what
in their
most people
girlfriends
do.
or their wives.
That's
Or their-
good. That's a
their
little
girlfriends
messy,
and
so
their
she's
wives.
Not so messy.
I'm just saying.
You know, that's not bad.
First of all, it is messy. You're blasting your load on a sheet, then you got to go wash it.
yeah, but it's in a little, not a little.
What do you
but
do, just
it's
flip the
in
sheet
like
Wait a
over?
minute. Is this
circle.
cut like in a certain
Is this
size?
the sheet we sit down on?
Is
when
it
we
like
go-
a size of the eyeglass cleaner cloths
It's
that
a
you get?
circle. It's a circle.
A circle.
It's not.
I thought it was like a big old silk thing. So you have
Big
like a
silk.
ceremonial jerk-off cloth.
No. It's
So you're like,
it's a full-grown single, mind you, single
So you
sheet.
just folded
silk
it?
sheet. I folded it.
Okay, so he's got it in a square.
Yeah,
That makes more
yeah,
sense.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Let's see, what are you
hold
looking
on, hold on. So this is a good representation, I think, of Bill and the silk cloth. You ready? Hold on. This is Zip
In a time
with his cloth
where to be different
ceremonial jerk-off. Watch.
was to be condemned.
There's you.
Oh,
There.
no,
Hold
no.
on. There's the cloth. Oh no! What are you doing? I have to. No!
And to
Never!
be condemned
I thought that was Iron
Son
Man.
of a bitch!
I thought
was
that was
to
Iron
die.
Man.
It is. That's Spider-Man. Tropic Thunder, by the way,
One
guys.
man.
Satan's Alley.
chose
Is
to
this before
Hold on.
question his God.
This is you. Frustrated because the silk won't give it to you.
From Fox Searchlight.
Watch. Silk Alley is what we'll call ours for this guy.
5-time Academy Award winner Kirk Lazarus. And MTV Movie Award Best Kiss winner Tobey Maguire. From the Beijing Film Festival's coveted Crying Monkey Award. Satan's Alley.
Silk Alley.
Satan's Alley.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
It's been great. It's been fun. Everybody that's been on the show, hey, we appreciate it. Hour 16. This is our longest podcast so far. All right. Well, this is Smoke. I'm out.
This is Chant. I'm out.
This is it.
Have a good day.